Her body was cold, bloody, lifeless. 5-year-old Ben Russo knelt beside his Aunt Elvira, begging her to wake up, but she never would. Moments later, the rest of the Russo family walked in, only to be shattered by what they saw. Elvira's mother, Clarice, collapsed in grief. Her father, Lorenzo, tried to hold her together. But how do you comfort a parent who just found their child dead on the floor of their own mansion? Then snap, Ben wakes up 20 years later. It wasn't just a nightmare, but a memory. As he reaches for a photo of Elvira, he whispers, "Happy birthday, Zia." Back at the Russo estate, Clarice and Lorenzo, now in their 70s, also remember. They wish their daughter a happy birthday and wonder, why has her murder never been solved? After 2 decades, someone still knows what happened. The Russos weren't the only ones remembering Elvira Russo on her birthday. In a sleek, quiet mansion, her ex-boyfriend, defense attorney Udell Mitchell, stood alone, staring at an old photo on his phone. It was him and Elvira, back when love still existed between them, before the betrayal. She cheated on him, walked away from their relationship without ever saying who the other man was. And 20 years later, Udell still doesn't know. Just then, his wife, Wanda, entered the room. Elvira's best friend, the woman he married after Elvira's life was taken. Together, they tried to reminisce, holding on to pieces of the past neither of them fully understood. And as they prepared to attend the Labor Day picnic at the Russo estate to honor Elvira's memory, one question remained. Did either of them ever truly let her go? Or are they both still haunted by secrets buried with Elvira? When Jeremiah Dorval moved his family to Valley Park, Florida, it was supposed to be a fresh start for him and his Haitian-American family. His HVAC business was finally booming, and the new estate was a dream come true. Suddenly, at their doorstep stood a stranger, District Attorney Heidi Russo, married to Lorenzo and Clarice's oldest son Gianni, polished, poised, and holding on to a 20-year-old tragedy. Heidi wasn't just welcoming them to the neighborhood, she was keeping her sister-in-law Elvira's case alive. And just like that, the Dorvals realized Valley Park wasn't just a quiet Florida town. It was a place still haunted by secrets, and Jeremiah's new beginning may come with someone else's unfinished ending. Ben Russo had spent years trying to distance himself from the family name and everything tied to it. He walked away from the family company, Russo Jewelers, from the mansion, from the pain. But some things refused to be buried. That's why on the morning of Labor Day, Clarice Russo, his grandmother, showed up unannounced at his private investigation firm. She wasn't just there to say hello, she came with a request to come to the Labor Day picnic to honor Elvira's memory. For a moment, Ben froze. Elvira, the aunt he once adored, the only person in that family who truly understood him. But for Ben Russo, going back isn't just about grief, it's about finally facing the truth and what he might uncover if he looks too closely. The Dorvals had just arrived at the Grand Russo estate, invited personally by District Attorney Heidi Russo. Heidi greeted them with warmth, excited to introduce them to her husband, Gianni. Soon after arriving, the Dorvals crossed paths with the Torres family, Afro-Dominican royalty in Valley Park. Devante Torres, the proud owner of the Hotel Theodosius's Palace, the biggest business in town, commanded attention without saying a word. His wife Isabel stood gracefully at his side. While the adults made their polite introductions, it was the teens who brought the energy. Vanessa and JJ Dorval quickly hit it off with the Torres' youngest daughter, Yulisa. But not everyone was feeling friendly. Nichelle Torres, the eldest daughter, watched Vanessa with eyes that could slice through glass. Something about Vanessa didn't sit right with her. As the kids ran off laughing and bonding, the adults settled in. Jeremiah and Shelley Dorval, along with Jeremiah's father Raymond, began to get to know Devante and Isabel. The Torres family didn't just reconnect with the newcomers, the Dorvals. They also came face to face with someone from their past. Isidore Russo, the younger son of Lorenzo and Clarice, and the man who once shared a romance with Isabel Torres long before she married Devante. Their eyes met, just for a second, but it said everything. They had both moved on, or so they told themselves. But deep down, that old fire still flickered. As Vanessa Dorval roamed the lush Russo estate with her younger brother JJ and new friend Yulisa Torres, she had no idea someone was watching her. Not in a creepy way, just captivated. From across the lawn, Max Russo, Heidi and Gianni's youngest son, stood frozen. His heart skipped. "Mother Mary must have sent me an angel," he whispered to himself, flashing a grin only a Catholic schoolboy could pull off. His family was Roman Catholic, his grandmother Clarice, even stricter. But none of that mattered right now. Max had seen the girl of his dreams, and in true Russo fashion, he was ready to charm her. There was just one problem. When he approached Vanessa, she wasn't exactly swooning, especially since she made it clear that she was a born-again Christian and didn't belong to the Catholic Church like his family did. Max blinked. Was this religious rejection? Still, he smiled, because Max Russo wasn't about to let church differences stand between him and destiny. He believed in miracles, and he was convinced Vanessa Dorval would be his. As the Labor Day picnic carried on at the Russo estate, Gianni Russo stepped away for a quiet meeting. He spoke with Quinlan Franklin, a sharp, determined investigative reporter from Global News Press. Her assignment? Cover the event. Her mission? Keep Elvira Russo's unsolved case in the public eye. But as Gianni talked, Quinlan's attention drifted to someone in the distance. A man with a quiet presence and eyes that held more pain than he'd ever admit. Ben Russo, Gianni's eldest son. He'd only come because his grandmother Clarice had asked. Gianni warned Quinlan that Ben wasn't a people person, but Quinlan didn't back down. She approached him anyway, introduced herself, and Ben? He wasn't impressed. His expression barely changed until she informed him that she'd be producing a documentary on his late Aunt Elvira. His mood shifted, sharpened. Quinlan didn't flinch. She handed him her card in case he wanted to discuss Elvira's case, since he was a private investigator. And with that, she walked away, leaving Ben to decide whether reopening old wounds was worth uncovering the truth. District Attorney Heidi Russo thought she'd seen the last person she wanted to see that day. But then he showed up, Police Commissioner Finnegan Burke. You'd think the two would be allies. After all, they're both in law enforcement. But what the public doesn't know is that 20 years ago, Heidi and Finnegan had an affair, one she buried deep. Now, after all this time, Finnegan had the nerve to bring up the past. And worse, he wanted to rekindle it, claiming that realizing it's been 20 years since Elvira passed is what brought it all back. Heidi shut it down immediately, urging him to resolve his issues with his wife, Dr. Terry Burke. She turned and walked away, furious. But what she didn't see was her son Ben watching from a distance. He couldn't hear the conversation, but their body language said it all. This wasn't just a casual chat. And for Ben, it raised one burning question. What is Finnegan and his mother hiding? And how does it connect to Elvira? At the Russo estate, Gianni Russo shared a heartfelt idea with his wife, Heidi. He wanted to create a scholarship for nursing students at Valley Park Memorial Hospital, a tribute in his late sister Elvira's name. What he didn't realize was that someone else was listening. Alan Russo, the son of Gianni's younger brother Isidore, and just as cunning. Alan rushed to tell his father, knowing exactly how Isidore would use the information. Because in this family, everything's a competition. And Isidore? He's not interested in honoring Elvira. He's interested in winning. For years, their father Lorenzo has pitted Gianni and Isidore against each other, a war for control over Russo jewelers. And now, Isidore had an angle. He paid a visit to Dr. Terry Burke, chief of staff at the hospital. But this wasn't a friendly chat. Isidore didn't ask her to support his version of the scholarship. He forced her hand, reminding her that he kept a secret of hers for 20 years, a secret which would ruin her life. Another suspicious encounter which Ben spotted from a distance. Yvette Mitchell made her way toward the Dorval siblings with confident strides, her presence effortlessly commanding attention. Vanessa and JJ watched as she introduced herself, radiating the kind of charm that turned heads in every room. Before the moment could settle, Yulisa Torres intervened and guided the Dorvals away from Yvette, her expression unreadable, but her movements deliberate. As they walked across the estate lawn, Ulysses' demeanor shifted, informing them that Yvette Mitchell was known in the high school for sleeping around with other guys. Lorenzo Russo greeted Wanda, Udell, and their daughter Yvette with the charm expected of a man of his stature, polished, practiced, and biting beneath the surface. What was meant to be a simple welcome quickly turned sour. A subtle, cutting remark from Lorenzo lingered in the air, hinting at the timing of Wanda and Udell's relationship following Elvira's passing. Wanda carried the weight of that comment throughout the day. No matter how many smiles the fashion mogul forced or pleasantries she exchanged, the unease stayed with her. While Udell urged her to move on from it, the seed had already been planted. As the day wore on, Wanda found herself spiraling into doubt. She questioned whether she and Udell would even be together if Elvira was still alive. Her mind raced. Udell's patience wore thin, and when the tension became too much, he walked away without another glance. From a distance, Ben Russo observed the moment, another crack in the foundation of a family already built on secrets. Suddenly, a sharp, vivid memory surfaced. Elvira sat alone in the living room, her shoulders trembling, eyes clouded with pain. She didn't explain the tears. She didn't offer reasons. Instead, she reached for him, holding him close. Ben didn't know what had broken her that day, only that it lingered behind her smile in the days that followed. Now, years later, with her case still unsolved, that memory echoed louder than ever. It was a reminder, not just of her grief, but of the warning buried within it. And in a town like Valley Park, where secrets are currency, Ben knew that whatever haunted his aunt in her final days hadn't disappeared. It had only gone quiet. While exploring the estate grounds, Vanessa, JJ, and Ulissa came across Kyle Burke, the son of Police Commissioner Finnegan Burke and Dr. Terry Burke, sitting alone in the grass, his head down, eyes fixed on his phone. He barely looked up as they passed, but something about him made Ulissa hesitate. Still, JJ stepped forward, ignoring the silent tension that had settled between them. Vanessa paused, sensing the shift in her friend's energy. Ulissa didn't follow. Her unease deepened, the kind that didn't need words to explain. There was something about Kiev, something off. JJ made the introduction with his usual energy, unaware of the weight in the air. Kiev finally glanced up, but his attention didn't land on JJ. It locked onto Vanessa. What neither sibling realized was that Kiev's interest wasn't casual. It wasn't innocent, it was calculated. Unseen to them, a dangerous curiosity had taken root, one that would grow in silence before it revealed its true form. That night, the Dorval house buzzed with quiet excitement. Vanessa and JJ reflected on how much their lives had changed, newfound wealth and a new school on the horizon. But as the evening settled into silence, something shifted. JJ froze. Faint laughter echoed out of place. He looked around, searching for the source, but found nothing. When he mentioned it, Vanessa brushed it off, unconvinced anything was wrong. She left the room, leaving JJ alone in the stillness. But the laughter continued, just that same eerie sound, threading through the quiet like a whisper in the dark. JJ didn't know it yet, but the sound wasn't real. It never had been. What he was hearing was coming from somewhere much closer, buried deep within his own mind. Quinlan hadn't expected the call, but when her phone lit up with Ben Russo's name, she answered without hesitation. He was ready, willing to help her dig into Elvira's case. A time was set. The call ended. But long after the line went silent, Ben remained still, staring at nothing, thoughts unraveling. He had spent years avoiding the truth. Now, he was willingly stepping into it. The more he thought about his aunt's final days, the more questions surfaced. There were things she never told him, pieces she kept hidden. And as he replayed old memories, one thing became clear. Someone had gone to great lengths to keep those secrets buried. And if the past had its way, they would stay buried with Elvira.